Alright, so what's up guys, King Crisis here, welcome to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you guys enjoy my content, comment down below some more video suggestions. With that being said, welcome to the movie on What If Deku Was All Might's son. I tried something different with this video, so let me know how you guys feel about it, if you guys like more stories like this one. And that being said, this thumbnail was made by Justo. Please show him some love and support down below in the comment section. Actually, both thumbnails were made by Justo for the part 1 in the movie. So like and subscribe to his channel, and with that being said, I'm so serious when I say this microphone has been putting me through absolute hell, right? I got some new materials and I don't know how to use it, like, at all. And it's been really aggravating me. It's like dealing with a fucking piece of junk, despite knowing that this thing is actually incredibly good. So since I've been going through hell and back every single day trying to use this microphone, I've had to delete several good videos, mind you, because I legit couldn't get the audio quality to be right. And that was just, God, that was like stabbing me in my heart repeatedly. But here we are. I might have gotten the microphone to a point where the quality is good enough to where you guys can understand me as well as the background music without it being one or the other overpowering each other too much. So with that being said, welcome to What If Deku Was All Might's son. Now, this story starts off within America. You see, Inko will be born within an American family. Inko being from a family of powerful telekinetics, all having the ability to, well, control the way things flow. You see, Inko will be born with the ability to, well, telekinetically pull objects towards her, just like in the original timeline. But this time around, Inko will be born with a secondary ability, the power to repel things away from her. Small objects can be repelled, and larger objects can also be repelled if trained properly. From here, Inko will grow up her entire life training her quirk to this way, training on how to pull bigger and smaller objects towards her and push away larger ones. Every day, Inko will be trained by her family in order to be the best. Now, they all have egos. That's one thing about the family. They're all in competition with one another, and everyone wants to prove that their child is going to be the superior, and no one would stop at anything to make sure of that. Inko will be the main one, and she wants to be the strongest one in her family. And eventually, Inko figures out a way to become that. She figures out how to become the strongest in her family. And relatively, it was simple. Inko's very own repel ability. Inko utilizes her repeller just like Gojo. The ability to repel anything away from her becomes her most powerful ability. With this power, Inko activates a barrier around her at all times that pushes everything back no matter what, making it to where Inko essentially has a barrier around her that makes it damn nearly impossible to hit her. Although there have been times when people have been able to bypass this barrier with genuine ease, but for the most part, no one has been able to do so. Like, you have to be top 10 pro hero level and above to get through Inko's level. And it was obvious from a young age after creating this technique that she was going to be broken. From here, Inko will learn how to utilize her ability to pull things together into different objects, which means that Inko is now able to magnetize things. Utilizing her quirk, she's able to make it to where everything is drawn towards that specific item, therefore crushing whatever that item is. And even the exact opposite, having everything be repelled away from it, until eventually she's learned how to convert this into pure energy. And yes, I'm basing her powers off of Gojo if you guys haven't already been able to tell. That's how Inko's quirk works, essentially. She's mimicking the powers of Gojo without actually utilizing Gojo's powers. It's pretty busted when you think about it for the My Hero verse, but it's nothing compared to the actual Gojo level, because let's just keep it real. Gojo, he could take out most of the verse. Will he beat the verse? No, but he could take out most of them. So, yeah. With that being said, let's get into All Might. All Might would come down to America, just like he would have in the original timeline. Him and David Shield. A big difference is Inko will actually be David Shield's cousin, as they are, well, cousins. Inko's mother would be David Shield's auntie, and yeah, from there. Inko begins to talk with David pretty often until eventually she would meet Toshinori. At this point, Toshinori, or All Might, hasn't really fallen for anyone. He hasn't been able to do so after all. All Might's only focus is to, well, be a hero, use one for all, and take out all for one. So he's never really had an opportunity to focus on anyone else until now. Inko and All Might begins to get along so well. Their chemistry was through the roof. Every single day, the two of them would hang out, run around with one another, and just have a blast, a fun, good little time. Inko would look towards All Might with a different light. This is the first man that has ever brought Inko a genuine smile. And the same would apply for All Might. This was the first woman that he's ever genuinely loved. Felt nothing more than not just lust, but genuine love and comfort for. He would hold Inko tightly. And eventually, he realizes the danger that this comes with. He would even go as far as revealing the secrets of One For All to Inko. Inko, at this very moment when All Might revealed this secret, she was already 2 months pregnant. She didn't know at the time, neither did All Might. After all, she wasn't showing, she didn't feel any morning sickness. I mean, she felt like herself, able to go through day-to-day life with almost no difficulties. Months would pass, and eventually Inko would be 5 months pregnant. In the 5th month of her pregnancy, All Might's battle against All For One would break out. Now, I do not know if this fight happened when All Might was like a little bit older, but we're just gonna push the fight back by a lot. It really doesn't matter because as long as All Might doesn't really get injured too much in the wound, it won't really change things in the story to how it plays out. Plus, he went years like that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, he still gets his shit. He still gets his shit caved in by All For One. Right? As this happens, Nadai will still tell All Might about his vision of him dying a gruesome death. Bit of a change is though, he tells All Might, and not only does he die, so does Inko. Inko dies in his arm, and right after that, he would die right next to her. A sad and horrible scene. Nadai would tell All Might that he has to leave Inko. If he wants to survive, he has to leave Inko and he should sit his ass down and quit trying to be a hero. He's in too critical of condition to try this. He's endangering himself and God knows how many others by trying to be a hero so damn hard. He tells him he pleads with him to quit, but just like in the original timeline, All Might refuses to let up. He does come to the decision though that it's best to leave Inko, return to Japan, never come back. He would leave without saying a word, leaving everything to David, as he would be the last one to deliver the message to Inko. Inko getting this news will break down. She breaks down so badly, so horribly, that she will go unconscious. Falling out, and a few weeks would pass, and eventually she wakes up. From there, only a month later, so at this point she's 6 months pregnant. A month later, her water would break. Her being extremely confused, never feeling anything, not even knowing, would rush off, going to the doctor. As from there, the doctor explained that she's in labor. Inko would be horrified, freaking out, knowing that the only person that could be Izuku's father is All Might himself. She doesn't say anything, she just goes with the doctors, as they would deliver Izuku. Izuku will be born, resembling his mother like a T. Green hair, beautiful green eyes, and he just looks exactly like Inko. This puts a huge smile to Inko's face as she would hug her baby boy. But now, she's scared. She's scared out of her mind, not knowing what exactly can she do. She has no idea what to do. At this point, she's a pro hero. She's like top 3 in America. And now she has a son out of nowhere. The doctor would walk around before coming back into the room, and they would take Izuku away, do all those basic little baby shit they do to him, and they'll give him back. Inko then would see that this is different. Izuku now has blonde hair, blue eyes, and resembles way more of All Might. She looks towards the doctor, and when he immediately said it isn't her baby, the doctor deemed expressed that this is in fact the same child. It appears that the boy seems to have a transformation quirk. It's a very unique one, and it's very rare for quirks to happen this early, but ma'am, you have an amazing child. He's going to be an incredibly gifted hero, hopefully. Inko will put Izuku down. At this point, she decides that it's best to take her time. She would go into the Hero Commission agency, where from there, she would put in her resign paperwork. They would be confused, wondering as to why, but Inko just simply says she made enough money to survive. She would leave, never revealing the truth. From there, she would watch over Izuku, keeping him homeschooled for the first couple of years of his life, until eventually he'll be 4 years old and it's time to get his quirk fully evaluated. They would go into the quirk doctor's office, where from there the doctors would be seen looking towards the boy. Both of the doctors, yes, both of them, because this time around there are 2 doctors. One, America, right? Thorough quirk, and thorough quirk evaluation. One doctor can say one thing, another doctor can say another thing. They get a 3rd doctor in just to certify if both of them were correct or if just one of them. So yeah, the doctors would look forward. Whereas from there, they both would say that Izuku possesses one of the most unique quirks they've ever seen. In a way, it's sort of a combination of a half and half quirk with a transformation quirk. Inko would hear this, then she becomes intrigued, asking him, what is it? The doctor explains, in Izuku's first form, or his normal form that you would see, right now, Izuku has the power of telekinesis, complete telekinesis, the ability to control and move anything in any direction as he pleases. And here's the other thing, his second form. In this form, Izuku gets a physical bulk. He bulks up considerably and gets massively taller, as well as his strength and speed being heavily amped to that of a super soldier, or peak human condition, along with the factor of Izuku inheriting another ability, which is an ability that he can only use in this form, tactile telekinesis. Inko would hear this and she would question, how's that? She thinks about her family, thinking about the fact that her quirks, all of them are telekinetic based quirks. And it makes sense, but then she begins to think about it. How is this possible for him to develop a second form? She knows that All Might can do that. He can bulk up massively, but he can also shrink back down, but it's only slightly. He doesn't just shrivel up. So in order for this to work, I've changed the way One For All works, right? So we know One For All has the power to enhance quirk factors. Let's just say this. Instead of it enhancing quirk factors, One For All is directly enhancing the gene itself, not the factor, which means that even dormant genes within a person who possesses a quirk, those genes will also be enhanced, even if they're dormant. Which means that All Might, who technically is a physically quirkless person, One For All enhanced the genetics within his body, granting him the ability to enter that transformation state. Although technically he's still quirkless. It's just an ability that his body now naturally possesses. And that's how it works. Let's just say All Might's family comes from transformation users, right? And those genes gets passed on to Deku. Now, realizing that with One For All having a bit of an influence on Deku's quirk, it's altered his second form, making it to where his telekinesis works differently, along with providing him a stronger body. Inko sees it, she contemplates and she processes all of this very, very quickly, with her deciding that it's time. She'll take Izuku home with her, and very quickly, she begins to tell Izuku to hide his power, and to never show his second form. Use his first form all he would like, but his second form is to only be revealed around her, or someone that she trusts. Izuku would hear this as he would nod and take in all the information. From here, Izuku will be at the age, we time skip to the age of 12 years old. At this point, Inko has raised Izuku every single day, trained him every single day with his telekinesis, whilst also allowing him to practice in his second form. She doesn't really have tactile telekinesis. She can't really utilize it herself because, she doesn't have it. Which means that she has to come up with creative measures in order to figure out what it's capable of, including doing research on the power itself, where eventually her and Izuku together would do research, discovering multiple useful ways it can be used. But most importantly, Izuku utilizes it to replicate the strength of All Might. And although it's not to a T, it is not exactly how strong All Might is, I can say that at his current state and towards the starting entry exams, he can replicate One For All to about 30% in his form. Which is crazy, okay? No bullshit, this is crazy. His telekinetic form, his base form on technicality is far more powerful, but his tactile telekinesis form has way more hacks and advantages. Think about it. In this tactile telekinesis form, he can hit far harder, and it's very easily by him making contact with something, he's able to lift it up because he can make it physically light. But, right? Just by him making physical contact with the wind, if he throws a punch, he can use the wind in the air to replicate those shockwaves, making it seem like he's unleashing that level of power. But here's the best part. Making physical contact with you can triple the output of the power that he's already using. So 60% of One For All is equivalent to what he's doing, basically. If he's going to a hand-to-hand combat fight with you, base strength alone, 30%. But if he makes physical contact with you, he's able to lessen how much you physically weigh. So he can make you essentially be a feather getting hit by a truck repeatedly. And although a feather wouldn't feel anything because it's a fucking feather, you physically would feel like you're getting crushed. Using it, he can forcibly cave in things, right? Let's say he were to touch a sword, right? Holding onto the sword, his tactile telekinesis will begin to break it down, right? He's able to stop momentum by touching someone, redirect attacks with a simple touch. He's able to lock someone in place by holding onto their body. He's able to literally coat his body in a field that absorbs impacts, therefore creating his durability. Able to still use that same aura to catch bullets, blades as soon as they touch him, and strengthen closing, prevent himself from getting any fallback damage. He's able to do so freaking much with just simply put, making physical contact. Once he makes physical contact, you're cooked essentially. Because now that he has physical contact, he got complete and total control over you, essentially. And Inko realizes that his second form has way more hacks than his first form, and realistically, it's the stronger of the two. Although his first form has more power output, his second form is just, all in all, it's way, way better, and it's a much more serious form to enter. So Inko decides even further that they have got to leave America, and the only other place they can go is Japan. From there, Inko will pack their things and they would move to Japan. Once they move to Japan, Inko will move into the same little place he lived in the original timeline, because why the fuck not? Living there, she didn't want to enroll Izuku in school. Mind you, the first 12 years of Izuku's life, he's never been to school, right? He's been homeschooled, he's been getting lessons. Knowledge-wise, he's massively smarter than everyone who's gonna be in his grade. But everything else-wise, nah, not fucking really. But of course, time will go on. He would enter into the school. Entering into the school, he would immediately be put into classes with Bakugo, who in his timeline have never met Izuku. Mizuki, Bakugo's mother, has never met Inko. And Bakugo has an ego through the fucking roof. Every single day, he would make it clear that he's the top dog, and he would even put down other students. With Deku, who possesses a powerful quirk of his own, never really caring too much about anything Bakugo has to say. And this enrages Bakugo. He hates seeing this. He sees that this kid doesn't care. It doesn't care. It makes it seem like Deku he isn't paying any attention to him. So, on Deku's very first day, Bakugo would immediately press him, letting him know that he's a nobody. And at this school, Bakugo's the top dog. Deku hears all this. He takes it in and remembers that his mother has always told him that kids nowadays are very arrogant when it comes down to their quirks. He looks towards Bakugo and he simply tells him that he understands that, and he doesn't plan on getting in his way at all. Bakugo would look at him and tell him that the second he fucking showed up, he got in his way, because he's a fucking extra. And from there, Bakugo tells him to remember his place, and he walks off. Deku looks towards him, shakes his head, and just continues to go on by his day. From there, years would pass, 2 years to be exact, and Deku every single day would avoid Bakugo. Not because he's afraid of him, but just because he doesn't really want to hear it. He knows Bakugo's gonna have the ego. But everything comes down to day where the teacher asks everyone about their careers. Of course, doing the same, I know you all want to be heroes, throwing their papers into the air. Whereas from there, the class would all get extremely ecstatic, all beginning to show off and use their quirks. That is until the teacher would reveal that there are 2 students applying for UA, Deku and Bakugo. The entire class would go silent, in the 2 years that they've known Deku, they've never seen him really use his quirk. Whereas from there, the class would all look at him and just straight up ask him, what is his quirk? Deku then would explain that his quirk is telekinesis. He's able to move objects with his mind. The class would all look at him shocked. They would immediately say that he's never used it before. And Bakugo gets up and slams his hands on his desk, creating an explosion. I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but you're not getting into UA, you fucking dirty extra. Know your fucking place. Deku's like, bro, can we please not do this? Bakugo then would say, no, you're not going to UA. You're a fucking extra. You're a goddamn nobody. Deku would hear this. He would remain calm, but he just simply tells Bakugo that he's going to apply to UA regardless because he wants to be a hero. Everything on Earth isn't about Bakugo. Bakugo would hear this and he's like, you fucking bastard! As he goes and he's about to explode Deku, the teacher then will tell him to go to the principal's office. Bakugo would immediately get enraged as he storms out of the classroom. Deku then just looks out at the door. He's like, bro, that guy has such a big ego. It's insane. From here, we time skip. On over towards the sludge villain attack. As Deku will be seen walking home, the sludge villain will still pop out of the tunnel. And as soon as this happens, the sludge villain will pounce onto Deku. Deku, from here, would lift up his hand and the sludge villain begins to expand violently before exploding out all over the walls. Before Deku would lift up his hand and wave his hands across the direction of the wall, and the sludge begins to build itself back together, forming into a small orb. Whereas from there, Deku begins to have a barrier around it, forcibly holding the sludge villain into this small ball-like shape. As this happens, Deku slowly walks out of the tunnel, and as he walks out, he begins to look for a nearby hero until he would see All Might himself appear in front of Deku. Deku freezes. Complete silence. He has no idea what to say. All Might, Deku would say. That's literally all he says. He remains silent. Deku, he's shaking. Never feeling like this before a day in his life. He's always known All Might was his father. Inko made it very clear when Deku hit the age of 9 years old, and she made sure that it became a secret that Izuku would keep with the rest of his life. And he's never actually had to encounter a moment where he's actually was face to face with him. He's shaking. He freaks out and he passes smoothed out, straight up smoothed out. All Might looks towards the kid, narrows his eyes, and he sees an uncanny resemblance to Inko. But All Might wouldn't really know what to think of it. He would see the sludge villain beginning to slowly get better, like the barrier beginning to slowly fade. All Might would quickly shove the sludge villain into a bottle, sign Izuku's autograph, pick Izuku up over his shoulder, launch himself off, going on over towards the police station and returning the bottle, as well as putting Izuku into the hospital. The kid passed out. He says he guessed it was like some type of shock from Inko. All Might or some bullshit, but the kid passed out. And from there, All Might would leave. When Inko arrives, she comes and gets Izuku, and the car ride will be silent, with Inko asking him what happens, but he says that he'll tell her when they get home. He looks towards her, and Izuku would break down, crying to his mother. He explained that he met him. He met Dad. Inko sees this and she remains completely silent. Tears begin to fill up in her eyes, and they both would cry, and Inko would hold Izuku as tight as she can. Inko tells him that it's gonna be alright, and they're gonna get an opportunity to speak on it more. Deku just simply says that it hurted. It hurted so damn bad. I was face to face with the man that is my father, the greatest hero on this planet, and I couldn't say anything. I couldn't even move. All I could do was just sit there and stare at him. I couldn't say hi. I couldn't hug him. I couldn't at least shake his hand. I froze like I'm some type of fucking I'm some type of like I was just a fucking bitch. Inko would hear this. She looks towards him and tells him it's okay. He would cry. No, it isn't. It isn't. With the tears flowing down his eyes, Inko would hold him as long as she could, with her as well crying. In the end, the 10 months of training would start. But during this time, Inko goes to Japan's commissioned agency, and revealing all of her old hero paperwork, her old hero license, she would apply to be a hero once more. They sent Inko into about a 3-week course, and worse from there, it reveals that Inko's never lost her touch. If anything, she's gotten stronger during the time of raising Izuku. And Inko will become officially a pro hero of Japan. The news will spread across Japan like wildfire, and with All Might eventually getting the news, thinking back to the kid that he saw, All Might would think that there's no way that was Inko's son. He doesn't think too much on it though, and decides that it has to just be a coincidence. There's just no way. From here, Inko would rise up through the ranks very quickly during the 10 months of training, but more importantly, she'll be training Izuku. With her having a hero license, she has a license to train the next generation. And well, she would do so every single day. Izuku utilizes his telekinetic quirk to its best. But now we cut on over towards the last month of training, as Inko will be at UA speaking with Nezu. She looks towards him with a serious facial expression. Providing a hair sample, she puts it down. I'm aware that UA has samples of all the teachers' DNA. They would nod, as Inko then would say, her son, Izuku. He's All Might's son. Everyone, well no one else is there. Nezu would look towards her silent, not having anything to say, as then he would say, the one with the transformation quirk. Inko would nod. He's All Might's son. Understood. Okay. He knows about Inko. All Might has realistically, there's no way he went his entire life not telling anyone about Inko. I just do not believe it. I believe he had to have told someone. And I'm pretty certain it would be Gran Torino and Nezu. All Might told Nezu everything. And, well, Nezu would get, the DNA sample from All Might, and it goes off and he would test the DNA. Let's just say their DNA testing is, much more advanced due to quirks becoming a thing. So yeah, he gets the test results back immediately. And yeah, he can confirm that Izuku is in fact All Might's son. He will look towards Inko and ask her exactly what do they want to do. Inko explains that she doesn't know, but she's scared. Her baby boy met his father and he panicked. There was nothing he could have said, there was nothing he did, he freaked out. And Nezu would understand why. So Izuku, All Might left. All Might just upped and left him. Inko explains that that's not how Izuku sees things. He's angry. She knows he is. But she knows that Izuku understands why All Might left. Hell, she understands why he left. But it's very important underneath all circumstances that Izuku is to get the proper training, because his second form is it's literally like if All Might were to be standing in front of him, it would be like looking at a mirror through the past. He's everything of All Might in that form. Like literally whole fucking face. It's just straight All Might. Like you can see about like 10% me, but like the rest, straight Toshinori. As she expresses it, she then expresses that it's very fundamental that they are to train that form in secret. And unless the only reason they would need to use this form is in an absolute situation, or when Izuku just decides to come up with a good enough lie. As they would hear this, Nezu would nod, or from there, it would go off. The UA entrance exams will come along, and Izuku will be told to come up to the teacher's stand before anything. Izuku goes up, and there Nezu will be sitting alone. He will tell Izuku that he knows who he is, and informs him that he is not allowed, underneath any circumstance, to utilize his second form. His second form is forbidden from the UA entrance exams. Izuku would hear this as he would sigh, expressing that he was already aware of this. His mother informed him that they were going to be taking some precautions. He would shake Nezu's hand as he would tell him thank you for everything. Whereas from there, the exams would begin. Deku would rush forward, and immediately he goes towards the first robot he sees, which just so happens to be a three-pointer. Extending out his hand, the robot would immediately be crushed in on itself, as Izuku begins to float upwards into the air with a powerful green aura exploding off of it. Several robots begin to get lifted up into the air, as they all begin to get flung and tore around towards one another, slamming into each other violently. Once from there, Izuku thinks within his head, All Might's a teacher here. His dad is a teacher here. And he's going to show him that he doesn't have to be gone to protect him. Izuku would look forward. He's gonna show All Might that he doesn't even know how to put it into words. He looks forward. He's just gonna fucking show himself. Immediately, Deku would lift up his hands as several robots begin to rise up, about 20 of them, and all of them begin to get crushed in on themselves before all colliding into one big ball of metal as Zuko starts throwing this bitch towards several more robots, ripping and tearing them apart. Everyone around would be seen watching in absolute shock. Nezu would see this, and Izuku, at the same time as using this giant boulder, every time it breaks through one robot, it picks up pieces from it and begins to grow larger and larger. Whilst at the same time, Izuku's using his telekinetics to pull people out of danger. Anytime someone is near danger, Deku would use his telekinesis to sweep them up, throw them into the air, and then he would catch them telekinetically, placing them down somewhere safe. All of this while still using his wrecking ball at the same exact time. At this point, within the first 5 minutes, Izuku has racked up over 70 points. From there, he would look forward, deciding that it's time to stop. He did enough, he did his little showcase, and he didn't even put any genuine power into it. He would lower his hands, and he would stop floating. From there, Izuku just begins to save others, focusing the rest of his time in the exam on helping others, saving as many people as possible until the 0 pointer would arrive. And just like in the original timeline, Ochako would scream for help. The crowd would go crazy as everyone begins to run, freaking out, just being terrified of what that 0 pointer is like. They don't want to deal with that thing. They all take off running. Everyone except for Izuku. Izuku flies forward as fast as he can, immediately removing all the rubble and floating Ochako into the air as high as he can, having her floating miles above the 0 pointer. With Ochako having a zero gravity quirk, she isn't really scared of these heights, whereas from there, you would see Deku appearing right in front of the 0 pointer. Deku would immediately use his telekinesis and begins to create a massive dust storm. As dust begins to fly all around and begins to cover all the cameras, you'll see Deku shift into his second form with a golden aura exploding off of him. He cocks back his fist and unleashes a destructive punch that would send the 0 pointer flying. As he's made physical contact with it, activating his tactile telekinesis, he would forcibly rip into the 0 pointer, crushing several of its insides before shrinking back down into its other form, this time having a green aura surround the 0 pointer as he would lift up both its arms before ripping both of them off and immediately sending both of the arms into the spot where Zuko's punched at, and it would, using these arms, he would rip that bitch smooth open. And then an explosion begins to go off, but Zuko would use his telekinesis and condense the explosion down into a tiny one. Breathing out heavily, he would look forward with a smile on his face, realizing he's just taken out the 0 pointer, just like that. Whereas from here, Izuku would fly back upwards into the air, and he would grab Ochako and just slowly float down the holding curve. As he does so, he looks towards her with a smile on his face, and the biggest one she's ever seen. A smile that just said, "You're safe." She looks towards him, just knowing that this is incredible. Who is this kid? And from there, Izuku, he'll put her down by Recover Girl. He will go off. As he goes off, he will be stopped by Nezu, telling him to come into his office. Nezu expresses that he knows that Izuku used his second form. Deku then explains that the 0 pointer is powerful, no doubt, but he had to have made contact with it tactilely in order to utilize his telekinesis. He then explained that he can't use them in tandem. Izuku explains that he can't use them in tandem, but he's able to use them like a chain, with the tactile telekinesis being able to enhance his regular telekinesis, but it has to be a rapid switch. As he hears this, he then explains that also, in his form, he's physically stronger and able to land a hit strong enough to rip into the 0 pointer. He then would apologize, expressing that he had to. Nezu hears this and says that he was at least smart enough to create a dust cloud, one large enough for no one to be able to see him transform. Izuku would smile as he expresses that that was the plan. Nezu tells him that he did good. Whereas from there, he also tells him before he even leaves that he made it into Class 1A and first place overall in the UA entrance exams. Deku would smile. From here, he would go home. As he makes it home, him and Inko would hug things out once more, having their motherly moment as they're all extremely happy. Izuku explaining that Nezu told him that he got first place, and from there, we time skip. On over towards Izuku's first day. He would walk into the class, and as soon as he does, he would see, well, the likes of Ida, Bakugo, and all the others, just like he would have. With Bakugo and Ida arguing just for Bakugo to really lose his shit when he sees Deku. Starts going crazy, telling Deku that he's an extra and that there's no way in hell that he made it into UA. Telling Deku that just because he made it here doesn't mean that he's any good. Telling Deku that he's worthless, he's an extra, and he's a nobody. Deku, hearing all of this, just blankly stares at Bakugo. He tells him that he can say that all that he wants, but Deku knows for a damn fact that this irks Bakugo's soul, seeing him here. Bakugo hears this, he balls up his fist and he tells Deku that he's a fucking bastard and that he'll kill him. He would run forward towards Deku, going upwards, and he's about to use an explosion just for Aizawa to enter the classroom, telling them to sit down. As he says this in a much more serious tone than what he would have in the original timeline. At this point, Aizawa, Recovery Girl, and Nezu are the only ones who know that Izuku, obviously enough Inko and Izuku himself, knows that this is All Might's son. Nezu informed Aizawa and, well, as well as Recovery Girl. So they're not playing any games. Nezu looks forward. My bad. Aizawa looks forward and tells him that this shit's serious. They all need to sit down. Quickly, he gives everyone the uniforms, just like he would have in normal time, but at a much faster rate. Like he gives them this shit and tells them to go outside immediately. They all go into the locker room as they would change. I mean, that still pulls his little scene, but I'm not gonna stop him. Why? Because I just don't fucking care about the scene that much, if I'm being real. Like, he does it, but let's just say Deku, like, pulls him away telekinetically. Yeah, that's about all he does. But he tries to go back, and then Deku just, like, telekinetically locks him to, like, a specific spot to where, like, he literally, like, he's trying to, like, extend his eyes, which is physically impossible. Like, it's that bad. So, yeah, that's just about all I can think of for real. So, time skip. Boom. They'll make it outside. As he makes it outside, Aizawa would throw the ball to Deku, telling him that he got first place in the UA entrance exams. Bakugo starts fuming. He starts, what the fuck? You goddamn never been using your quirk this whole fucking time. And you said me you got first place. Right, like he's going crazy. Deku's like getting agitated at this point, right? He's shaking. Like at this point, like 2 years of Bakugo's bullshit is crazy. But he begins to look all around him. Or from there, he spots out of the very corner of his eye, he spots All Might. He knows that he's seen them. A smile will spread across Deku's face as he decides, yeah, he's showing off. Deku will rub back his hand, and immediately a green orb begins to surround him and the ball. As Deku begins to float upward, so with the ball. Deku then will say, I'm cool like this. Be gone! Immediately the ball will be launched off with a burst of wind being released, but not nothing too crazy, just enough to where it's, you know, enough to where it's very apparent that it's a little power. Deku then would telekinetically push the ball until it's out of his range. And you wanna know what out of his range is for an item that fucking small? Out of the damn atmosphere. Because it's just the size of a ball, bro. That's nothing too much for Deku. Like, if it was like, let's do this, like, right? The bigger an object is, the lower his range is with it, right? So, like, tiny objects can go, like, all the way out into, like, out of the atmosphere. And they would finally leave his range. But, like, medium-sized items, right? They can't go that far. They can still go far as hell, like, with no doubt, but let's just say, like, a little less out of the atmosphere, right? Large items, they can go far, but they have way more limitations. This, on the other hand, yeah, nah, not really. From here, Deku would turn and he walked, like he just casually walked with the rest of the class. Bakugo just looking at him fuming with Aizawa expressing that Izuku got infinity. The class would hear this now like, infinity? From here, every other test will go off with Izuku using his telekinesis to absolutely put in work. He gets first place in almost everything. Keyword, almost, right? He gets, second place, third place, fourth place in some things, but the ones that are actually important, this man gets first place in it. Alright, with ease. With absolute ease. And it's not even fair. All I will be watching already, he's like, that kid, his name is Midoriya. He processes it every day and he's like, damn. All Might will be heartbroken, thinking that Inko must have found someone else. But even then, he knows that she couldn't have stayed latched on him for forever. So he would smile, knowing that she finally got happy. It hurts him, but at least she's not holding on to him. From there, time skip. On over towards the same scene in the original timeline with everyone panicking because they think villains, pussies. But Deku would tell them about themselves and boom. So would Ida and then boom. We now time skip on over towards them walking home and they're discussing why they want to be heroes. Deku would look forward before saying that his family from America is a family of pro heroes. He has a legacy to live up to. And he wants to make his dad proud. Rest in peace. As he would say this, they look forward. Izuku explains that his father passed away a long time ago. He was a great hero in America, and he intends to make sure that he's able to, live up to his dad's name. They'd ask him about his dad's name, and he would just give the most random bullshit ass hero in America that died that was actually a good telekinetic hero who, let's just say that he wasn't related to Izuku, but he had a tactile telekinesis quirk, right? Because why not, right? And they explain that, they understand, and yeah, from there, we cut on over towards Izuku getting home. He sit there with Inko, they would talk, Inko would cook dinner, time skip after that. So, the day would come along, whereas from there, All Might would run to the door. I'm walking to the door like a normal person. I am here. Everyone becomes extremely ecstatic. The class hyped and happy. Izuku, dead silent. Not even looking at All Might, just having his head down, writing, and he's shaking, right? Like he's trying to hide the fact that he's shaking, but his leg, that bit is moving, right? He's horrified, having no clue what to do, right? He just keeps his head down and he doesn't really say much on it until they would get Izuku's hero costume, right? Let's just say Izuku's hero costume resembles a bit more like, All Might's hero costume, the one with the red? Yeah, let's say it looks more like that one, except they got green, right? Because why not? And they would basically look at it, right? And they just see hints of All Might's suit along with Inko's suit, right? But Izuku just simply says that he was an All Might fanboy growing up. And he basically inspired his suit off like Inko as well as All Might's and his father. Expressing that his father died about 2 years ago, right? Because, he just lies. They play into all this bullshit, right? Ida and Ochako already heard the story, right? So they just start nodding and agreeing to everything, right? So yeah. They get their little hero suits on and, spin the wheel. Let's see. Honestly, y'all, I would put him up against Bakugo, but I'm not gonna lie. I don't really want to. Like, this version of Bakugo's, his whole thing is he's way more arrogant than in canon because he didn't really he was already arrogant at first, but he's even more pissed off, right? Because Izuku showed up later on in his life when Bakugo's ego was at its highest and Deku never really did anything back, right? Despite having a quirk strong enough to actually fight back, Deku never did. And this is like repeatedly stabbing into Bakugo, right? He's enraged. He can't stand it, knowing that this guy who has a quirk to fight back isn't fighting back, right? He hates it, so he tries his hardest, right? So yeah, let's just say this. The teams are gonna be Deku, obviously, teamed up with, so what I never teamed up with before, Ojiro. Going up against Sato and Sero. Deku hears this lineup and he thinks in his head like, wow, okay, I'm about to watch these guys. He doesn't really say it out loud, but he's definitely thinking it, right? So the match would start, and as soon as the match starts, Zero and Sato will be the heroes, right? Deku will be the villain. Deku then proceeds to activate his telekinesis and lift the bomb up. He then expresses to Ojiro that he just has to be here and guard it. If the situation gets dire, turn on the headset and tell him what's happening, and he'll telekinetically move the bomb. As he says this, Deku then would walk downstairs, waiting on the pro heroes to enter. Both of them would enter, with Zero and Sato looking at Deku, with both of them rushing forward because they remember how strong this dude was. Interesting as they're not playing no games. With a mouthful of sugar, Sato goes in for a mean punch. This punch would land, and Deku will be flung back. As he swung back, he would catch himself telekinetically, look forward, and Sato's already running up at him. But Deku would place both his hands in front of him before saying, "Almighty Bush!" And a massive burst will be unleashed, and this man will be sent flying straight through a wall into the other room. Immediately, Sarah would wrap Deku up in tape, but Deku then would immediately do another Almighty Bush, repelling this tape off of him before pulling Sarah towards him, and immediately Deku would grab onto the tape, and he would start wrapping Sarah up with his own tape before flinging him into the air and immediately slamming him back down. Instantly, Zero gets upwards and he begins to, because his tape is like attached to him, he just like absorbs that shit. Which, can he do that? I don't fucking know. I have no idea. Why would I know that? But let's just say he can, right? Let's just say he can for plot convenience, right? Let's just say it's retractable. So, he retracts it right back inside of his body before jumping upwards and shooting more towards him. As he shoots more towards him, Sato's already gotten back up and he's blitzing at Deku again. This time he Muska, hits him with 3 good look hits, mink, before punching this man smooth in the face. Deku sent flying, slamming into a few little walls. He got some good little hits on him. Bako will be seen watching this, thinking to himself that Deku scored the first place in the UN entrance exams, and this is what he's doing. But from there, Deku would stand up and smile, telling them that he's strong, but really he was just giving them to break some debris on purpose. As they hear this, they would think, huh? As all the rocks begin to float upwards, and Deku then begins to literally shred them down, forming multiple spikes that begin to float all around them. Before Deku then would form the broken wall, lifting it up and throwing it smooth at them, with the spikes following behind it. They would panic and freak out as Sarah would use his tape to latch onto things around the room and pull himself jumping around like Spider-Man just for Deku to freeze him in place, snatching him back with his telekinesis and making him punch him smooth in the face, laying him dead out. Sato would see this as he immediately starts punching through the rubble as well as all of the spikes, punching it as more and more as he can. Deku then would tell him that he's stupid for doing it because he's just giving him more things to use. Every time he breaks something, he has another thing he can move. As he says this, the rocks then would shoot towards him really fast, hitting Sato and sending him flying, before all of them would crumble up into one big one that flies down and slams dead onto Sato's back, laying him out as well. Well, just like that, the villains would win. In the class, they would be surprised, like, whoa, Deku's quirk is powerful, right? Deku would walk off and Ojiro, he's selling, right? He literally didn't get to do any freaking thing. Deku handled everything. Boom. They would talk about the MVP. Deku will be declared the MVP because how strategically he used his quirk, as well as the fact that he managed to figure this all out with straight up no difficulty, bro. Just straight up no difficulty at all. He utilized it in a way that made him seem like a fucking genius, like a just critical genius, which, well, by now they realized that he definitely is one. Like, this kid is super duper smart. And boom, we time skip on over towards him being headed on over towards the USJ. Who's gonna be class rep? Y'all already know I'm just gonna make it Ida. Despite how much I don't freaking like him, it's still gonna be Ida. Because, why not? Ida's class rep, everybody's listening to Ida, sort of, and they're discussing who's the strongest in the class. Now, they're still going to say Todoroki. The reasoning behind them still saying Todoroki is because Todoroki's quirk has more output. It has way more output, right? They've seen so much more output from his quirk that it was literally no way for them not to think it was going to be him, bro. They think, yeah, they think it's him. No doubt about it, bro. They think it's him. So they think it's him, and then, bro, they think it's Bakugo, because no, actually they think it's Deku, because right, they have not seen Bakugo's gauntlet explosion, so they think it's Deku, right? And Bakugo hears this, he starts going off saying that I'm the strongest in the class, and then Kaminari just straight up tells him to shut the fuck up, which Deku was just like shocked at, like, right? He's like, God damn, bro, it's like it's because this version of Bakugo is worse, right? Because like he's way worse than what he was in canon, right? There was no Deku, there was no childhood friend, there was none of that, right? There was no bond to be a hero, right? This version of Bakugo has not met Deku, and he's a bitch ass nigga, right? I'm just gonna make him a bitch, right? Way more than in canon. Which I haven't done this in a good little while, right? I haven't made Bakugo just genuinely be a piece of shit in so long. And for those of y'all that don't know, I only started liking Bakugo towards the very, 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 towards 2 months ago, right? I hated him and I hated Ida with a passion. And I still do. I still hate Ida with a passion. But Bakugo, he's cool now. But yeah, let's just make him a dick for no reason, right? So yeah, they're chilling. They're on the bus. They're headed home. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. All right, they make it home, right? They make it on over towards the USJ. Now, as they make it towards the USJ, Aizawa would still hit that classic, those are not fake villains. She would jump down and everybody would still get portaled away. As everyone still gets portaled away, Deku will be portaled into the water zone, which is just horrible, right? Because although Deku does not have hydrokinesis, telekinesis on technicality has every type of kinesis by itself, if we being technical, right? So, Deku, who's submerged underwater, will just look forward. With an explosive power coming off of him, Deku begins to glow a powerful green light. And immediately, every villain and every person, actually, every freaking person within the water all begins to float high into the air, along with the boat itself floating. And it just looks like some freaking Pennywise type of shit with all those kids floating. Like, that's what it's looking like. All of them floating, and Deku's eyes just glowing a fearsome green. Where there you see Deku beginning to look all around and see if he finds anyone that he knows. And quickly he would spot Mineta and Froppy, sending both of them to the ship. As he does so, he would look towards all the other villains. And immediately, Deku proceeds to slam them straight onto the ground. Not into the water, onto the ground. Wherever they were sand and stuff, and he slammed all of them on there. Knocking some of them out, probably giving some of them brain damage, but he doesn't care. They're villains, right? They all hit the ground. They're all just laying there. Whereas from there, Deku looks towards Tsuyu and Mineta, floats towards them, asks them if they're okay, which of course they would say that they are, and they would thank Deku. Deku would smile, telling them that it's no problem. Whereas from here, he would lock in, focusing on the villains, right? Quickly, he would use the boat and he would forcibly steer it, making it go on the water. And you're probably thinking, if he can just make this bitch float, why did he put it on the water? I'm gonna be so real with y'all. He wanted to do it. Like, he just wanted to have fun, right? He's only been on a boat like twice in his life. So, he flies it on the water, because why not, right? So that's like, we didn't know you knew how to drive a boat. Deku just burst out laughing. But saying he doesn't. He's using his quirk. And they're like, bro, that's actually a pretty good feat. I mean, he could control a boat just like that. So you would think to herself. She would look towards Deku, looking him up and down like, oh my god, girl, he's kind of strong, right? But she doesn't think anything else. She's just like, well, cool, whatever. Anyways, she doesn't take that much attention on it, right? So then, boom, they make it on over. As soon as they makes it on over towards the area, we look forward. Where from there you would see Aizawa getting his shit handed to him by the gnome. Deku would see this, and the gnome goes in for another punch. Deku lifts out his hand, and he would immediately cause the gnome to freeze in place. Deku then would twist his hand, and the gnome's arm would instantaneously break in 4 places. Shigaraki would see this, and then Deku straight up snatches the gnome's arm smooth off with his telekinesis before immediately condensing a aura around Aizawa. As Aizawa begins to glow to a blue color, the Nomu, who would regenerate his arm, and Deku sees him, he's like, oh shit. But that's why he covered Aizawa in the barrier, because he didn't know what to expect. But the Nomu regenerated, and it goes in for a punch which never hits Aizawa. Shigaraki would see that it looks almost as if a barrier is blocking the Nomu. It goes in for another punch, just for it to still be blocked by Izuku's barrier. Whereas from there, before the Nomu can even react, it is flung back and sent flying. And when I say sent flying, I mean it is sent flying. With the Nomu being sent flying halfway across the whole freaking USJ, slamming into several different zones, it gets upwards, ignoring everything around it, blitzes back towards Aizawa just to be flung into the air, slamming straight through the roof of the USJ before being slammed back down onto the ground. With Shigaraki not being able to understand what's happening. Why? Because Deku is still hiding with Tsuyu and Midana. And you're wondering, how is he doing all this? This man is only using his fingers to do this, mind you. Right? But the Nomu, it gets back up. And it just keeps getting back up. Deku sees this and he decides that he has to step in, right? And they're like, haven't you already stepped in? Midana would say, Deku just looks at him like, yeah, technically, but like, he has to genuinely get up close, right? His quirk is powerful, but from a distance, this is all he can do. And he just look at him. That's all you can do? You're saying that like that's a little, but that's a lot of power, right? But he doesn't feed too much into it, right? He gets forward. And as soon as he gets forward, he begins to smile uncontrollably, looking towards Aizawa and tells him that he's safe and he shouldn't have to worry about anything anymore. He got this. With a smile on his face, Deku immediately cracks his neck and zooms forward. As soon as he zooms forward, he points his hand forward, and immediately the Nomu will be flung back as Deku lifts up his hand and slams it into the ground from all directions. But, you know, Shigaraki hasn't given the Nomu an order to attack Deku, which is why this entire time it has not attacked Deku, despite like Deku using his quirk on it several times. But now, Shigaraki, who knows that it was Deku that was doing that, he tells the Nomu to get him, right? Deku sees his thing blitz towards him. Knowing the damage he did to Aizawa, Deku puts up his barrier. But the Nomu breaks right through that shit. Punching Deku smooth in the stomach, Deku would cough up an absurd amount of blood, and he would be sent flying, slamming, like just sent freaking flying. He hits the ground, right? This man is coughing up so much blood, but the Nomu's already right in front of him. And it slams a kick smooth onto the top of Deku's chest, hitting this man and piercing a bone, right? And this thing is inches away from his heart. Deku's on the ground. He's coughing up even more blood. He's not able to think. He's not able to breathe. His head is spinning in all directions. He's looking all around. Nomu gets on top of him and just starts, why, Mark? Why? Starts beating into him like freaking Omni-Man did Mark, right? Just going to town. Boom, 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 boom. Deku's face being covered in blood. Nomu would grab Deku, flung him into the air, and he's now the one getting slammed through the roof. As this happens, Deku begins to fade in and out of consciousness, and he knows, yeah, he doesn't have a choice. Deku activates his quirk and immediately pulls the Nomu upwards, holding onto it as he holds onto the Nomu's neck. Mid-air, Deku's body would grow as he enters into his second form, and he goes slamming down onto the ground. Now, here's a good little thing about Deku's transformation quirk. Now, when Deku transforms, his body alters itself, right, in order to enter his second form, which means that Deku's second form is completely undamaged. Now, when he reverts back to his base form, he would still have all the damage received to it, so he still has to heal technically, right? And if he doesn't revert back to that form, he physically will never heal. So let's say that Deku were to decide to stay in this form forever. If he stays in this form forever and reverts back to his second form, he will still have those injuries, which means he has to be in his normal form in order to heal over time. The same will apply for this one. As this form gets damaged too much, he has to enter this form in order to heal. That is the drawback of Deku's quirk. Both forms have to heal. He cannot be healed in one form and not get healing in the other, because if he does, well, he will basically never get healed in that form. And that's really, really problematic because he's essentially two people, right? But yeah, kaboom. He slams the Nomu onto the ground and delivers a punch that straight up rips into the Nomu's mouth, tearing his jaw clean off. Deku then would jump backward in a massive burst of power before Deku looks around and immediately places his hand on the ground. As he does so, the ground begins to violently shake, or sooner the dust clouds begins to form, filling up all around. Deku in his form constantly creates dust clouds because he has to hide his form right now. He cannot let Tsuyu and Rinata see the fact that he's literally a mini All Might, right? So he's covering up as much dust as he can. He blitzes forward, makes contact with the Nomu, holding onto the Nomu's wrist. The Nomu's entire body would freeze as Deku starts punching it in the face over and over and over with massive shockwaves being unleashed. The Nomu's face getting obliterated as Deku begins to punch it faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, with boom, 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 boom just being heard. Boom after boom after boom after boom. Before Deku then proceeds to grab the Nomu by both of his eyes. Using his tactile telekinesis, he would force the Nomu's eyes to get crushed in on themselves before violently holding onto his head before the blood begins to rise up within the Nomu's body. As then, Deku proceeds to snap his fingers and boom! The Nomu fucking pops, right? Straight up pops. Hits the ground, dead. Straight up dead. Deku sees this, the Nomu's whole head popping. He still, like with his feet still on the ground, he lifts up a massive cloud before reverting back to his base form, lifting up his hand and telekinetically pulling the Nomu into the air and tearing it apart from all angles. With the Nomu's blood covering over Deku's body, Deku falls straight to the ground unconscious. As this happens, Inko and All Might would both arrive. Inko arriving and several more pro heroes arriving because Inko put some chips in Deku's body that like lets her know when this man's is fighting, right? And you know, the USJ, they're not really supposed to be fighting that much, right? It's more of a rescue thing, but like Deku was fighting for his life, according to what Inko can see. So yeah, she pulled up, along with All Might and all the others, yeah. But Inko, she sees a lot of villains just laying around, and she sees the condition Izuku's in. Yeah, she flashes out immediately, right? Immediately. Loses her cool. And an explosive aura exploding off of her, and All Might, who's already enraged at his students being in danger, the two of them move like mafia, right? Like fucking monsters, blitzing through, ripping up and tearing apart every villain there. Obviously not killing them. Well, Inko might have killed a few, but All Might obviously not killing them, but roughing them up very, very badly. But Inko, yeah, when I tell you what All Might did to them looked like some kindergarten shit compared to what Inko did. Inko fucked them up. Right? Obviously, enough Kurogiri, Shigaraki, they still get away, but like the rest of them, man, they ain't get too far, man. They did not get too far, but yeah, they put in hella work, moving like pure demons. And you know, Inko, she sees All Might. All Might and her would lock eye contact with one another. Inko would just look at him. She just can't stop but looking, but she would look away. She holds herself together, and there she would check on Izuku, making sure that he's okay, sending him into the hospital van. She would get in there, and she would fly them with her telekinesis to the best hospital nearby as fast as possible. Or from there, Izuku would begin to get his treatment done, and Inko would ask him, what did this to him? Izuku, after finally getting healed and also getting healed in his second form, which although his second form didn't receive that much damage, he knows the way his quirk works. He doesn't really have much of a choice. He explains to his mother that it was this creature that they said was designed to kill All Might. Inko hears this and she's like, what? He would nod, explaining that his quirk gave him a bit of an advantage. He was able to use his quirk to lock the beast in place, and well, its weak spot was his head, apparently, which he really was just going off instinct and just punching the head, but hey, it worked. He punched it until it popped. Inko would hear this and she just tells Izuku that it doesn't matter, and as long as he's okay, nothing matters. She will hug Izuku as tight as she can, whereas from there, the big three will show up into Izuku's hospital room. with Deku having no idea who these guys are, but they basically tell Deku that it's their job to train his second form, starting now. Deku would hear this and he's like, bro, he just got healed. But they tell him that really it does not matter. It's time to train, right? And they get this man out of the hospital and immediately would start training Deku in his second form. But I'm tired. I'm taking my break and I'm gonna finish recording the rest of this tomorrow. I'm going to kick things off. So let's just say that they arrived at the training grounds and Izuku's training will start. But yeah, my break starts now. Deuces. Okay, I take back that deuces because that shit sounded corny as fuck.
Alright, so we continue where we last left off. Now, to be honest, y'all, it's been like what, a few freaking probably like a whole week since I've last actually recorded this series. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to y'all, right? I did rewatch the video, but when I rewatch my own videos, I zone out so freaking easily. Why? Because I hate the way my own voice sounds, right? Especially like over recording, right? And when I'm just normally talking, I think my shit sound good, but like anytime I hear it on camera, it sounds horrible. So yeah, I do apologize. But with that being said, let's start the video. So, I'm realizing it's doing that BS again, but it's too late now. Let's start the video. Alright, so where we last left off, Deku was just about to start his training with the big three. Deku will be seen standing up as he would ask them which one he's about to train with. Mirio, Tamiyaka, and Nejire would look towards one another. After all, they tell him that he has 2 weeks before he has to go back to school. Deku would look confused. Why? He never explained. Simply put, well, UA is underneath investigation or whatever, and they're trying to keep the student safe according to the police. So Deku has 2 weeks to train with them. Deku will look forward and he will ask him if he can train in both forms or just his second form. They will tell Deku that they would really much prefer he train in his second form, that way he can get both forms to equal power. Although his second form is more versatile, in pure combat alone they can tell that it's not stronger than his base form. Deku would hear this before looking forward, okay? He cracks his neck and immediately enters his second form. Fine then, since that's how you want to play it. Now, which one would I be fighting right now? Nejire would smile as she would step forward and say that she's going to be the one he's fighting. Deku looks towards her and smiles before saying he would rather not hurt a female. She hears this and Nejire's expression becomes a dead serious one. Okay, you're so sweet of you. She lifts up her hand and immediately unleashes a blast of energy that sends Deku flying instantly. As Deku sent flying, he immediately slams into a wall and this man struggles, but he gets upward shocked. Like, oh sh! And before he can react, she's already right in front of him and unleashes another motion beam that sends Deku flying upwards into the air. She then would fly upwards before grabbing Deku, and mid-air she tells him not to underestimate her just because she's a woman, before blasting him back down. As this happens, Deku would hit the ground, he looks forward towards her, and he begins to look all around with Nejire flying all around him. Now, in case y'all haven't noticed, I'm making the big three powerful, right? Because in the original anime, they were like said to be so powerful, and they do have pretty good feats, but in the end, they don't really live up to it towards the end of the story. And I want them to live up towards that hype. I want them to be that hype. So, Mirio, Tamiyaka, Nejire, they're about to be busted in this video, okay? So don't be surprised when they're doing stuff that is just gonna surprise you. Like they're probably gonna be on they're gonna be on their war arc levels, okay? I'm not making them no all for one, no Shigaraki, not even no overalls. Well, Mirio alone could low-key solo overall if done correctly. But I'm not making them no end of series Deku or end of series Shigaraki or end of series overall, not even end of series All Might levels, right? Because they crazy powerful, right? But they are top 10 pro hero levels of power with ease. So that's what I had planned for this. So yeah, anyways, Deku would hit the ground before looking all around and she zooms in front of him and kicks him dead in the stomach and he's sent flying. I'm not gonna make her too much of a brawler, as we know she's not really that big of a brawler, but you know, using her energy waves to fly as fast as she is, when she hits something, she's most likely gonna do some good little damage to him, so that had to be done. Anyways, Deku will be flung backwards as he immediately decides, okay, bet. He activates his quirk and blitzes forward towards her and immediately goes in for a punch. She would dodge before shooting a blast of energy towards his hand, as she tells him that his heavy fall is he continues to make it obvious that he's trying to make contact. As they begin to fight, she begins to dodge, evade, and blast lasers at Deku. She tells him to not make it obvious that he's trying to make contact with her. Deku would hear this as he slams his foot on the ground, and the ground would crack immediately. With multiple rocks launching into the air, Deku would grab every single rock as the rocks would morph into blades. She sees this and would think, okay. Deku then blitzes forward towards her and immediately goes in for a slash at her, which she would dodge. He goes in for another one, but she will blast both of his rock blades and immediately they will crumble away. But as this happens, Deku winds up making a 0.millisecond contact with her hand as he falls to the ground and slips his finger. Oh, that didn't sound right, never mind. But as he falls to the ground and his finger accidentally slips on her. As this happens, Deku would smirk, and immediately Deku lifts up his hand with a yellow orb shining off of him. Now, you foul villain, let me show you how this is done. Detroit Smash! With Nejire being locked in place, Deku would immediately grasp onto the air, cock back his hand, and immediately utilizing his tactile telekinesis would use his force to mimic super strength as well as air pressure manipulation. So, by combining those attacks, he unleashes a devastating punch that sends off a burst of air that would send Nejire flying after he removes his lock on her place. Nejire would be sent flying and she would hold her stomach in a little bit of pain. She looks forward with a smile on her face and she says, good, he came up with a bit of a strategy. Just still not good enough. She rushes forward towards Deku and goes in for an energy blast, which Deku sees coming towards him, and immediately he lifts up his hand and immediately catches the blast before the energy burst would disperse. She sees this and realizes that, okay, that's pretty good. She then will slowly lower herself to the ground before saying that he's done good so far. She's honestly surprised at how incredible he can perform. Tomioka, your turn, she would say, as Tomioka would walk forward, and immediately he tells him that he really doesn't feel like doing this. He's not gonna lie. He honestly don't understand why he has to be a part of this. He's not really into all this bullshit, but whatever, bro. He looks forward, and Deku would immediately just not even giving him a attempt, since Nejire basically attacked first. This time he's gonna attack first, and he goes in for a punch on him. That punch will be weaved immediately. He gets weaved. This man trips and falls to the floor instantly. Anyways, I don't remember what I said though. But Nejire, my bad, Deku rushed towards Tomioka. Tomioka winds up dodging Deku's attack before shooting squid arms that will latch onto Deku and sling him to the side. As Deku will be slung to the slide, he will hit a flip before looking forward towards him, and then he will see Tomioka flying at him, which he's confused. How does this guy quirk work, right? He ends up wrapping more squids around him before pulling Deku towards him and kicking him. I'm gonna be so honest with y'all. I don't know many ways to use Tomioka's quirk, right? I know it's manifest. I know he can basically spawn in anything that he eats onto his body. So I know he did a clam one time. I don't remember how he used the clam though. So I'm not gonna lie, y'all. This gonna be a bit of a struggle for me, which is the whole reason why I use Tomioka. That way I can come up with more creative ways to actually showcase his abilities. Because I'm working on a manifest video. I just suck using manifest. So yeah, I do apologize. Anyways though, Tomioka latched onto Deku, throws him into the air before spawning in his clam leg and immediately jumps upwards and bites Deku's leg and immediately slams him to the ground. Deku struggles and gets upwards from the ground, and as he struggles to get upwards from the ground, Tomioka's hand will morph into a megaphone. Deku sees him, he's like, what the fuck? And immediately the megaphone would unleash a sonic blast. Not one crazy powerful, but something good. He looks at this and he's like, bro, what the like he's slung back. He just looks at him. I have a quick question. And Tomioka would say, yeah, how in God's name did you do that? Tomioka then would say that his quirk allows him to manifest things. He's like, okay, but can you just manifest anything? And he's like, no, I can manifest things I've eaten. You ate a megaphone? Deku would say in confusion. As then he would say, no. And as they're training, Deku then will see a glimpse of All Might walking by, and immediately Deku transforms back into his other form, and Tomioka and the others are like, yo, what did you do? Deku says, shh, shh, shh. All Might will walk into the room. As he walks into the room, he would look forward. Hey, young Midoriya. And he goes towards Deku and immediately asks him, what is he doing here with the big three? Deku then would say that he was just trying to talk to them and get to meet them, and he came in on them training, and they stopped training him because he wanted to get their autographs. And almost like, oh, okay. He looks towards the big three before pulling them out into a separate room and deciding to have a little bit of a conversation with Izuku, not knowing the context of the conversation. It's nothing involving Izuku as All Might's son. I'm gonna let y'all know that now. It's just him doing some simple shit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he came in there for plot convenience. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, because I just want to showcase how Deku feels when All Might's around. Like, Deku's gonna freak out anytime All Might shows up, bro. It's that serious. So yeah, he immediately transformed back to his second form. But yeah. Anyways, so All Might would leave. Deku would wait about another 10 minutes before transforming back, which of course he would do so. He would transform back, and as he transformed back, Tomioka would just be seen tossing some shit in the air before biting something and eating it. Deku's like, oh fuck no, you're not eating nothing else. He runs forward towards Tomioka and immediately goes in for a punch, which Tomioka would dodge. Before deciding, he just starts weaving everything Deku's like throwing at him. And Deku's confused, what the fuck did he eat? Tomioka then looks towards him and says, a pill? Deku then says, what? A pill? What do you mean a pill? Tomioka just looks at him before grabbing Deku on the side of his neck and injecting some type of drug into him. Deku falls to the ground when Mims begins to feel high. Tomioka then walks away before telling him that he's just not there yet. As he walks away, the last and final fight will be Mirio after the drug wears off. Deku looks forward and just says he's done. He has to do this like as fast as he possibly can. Mirio gets into the fight before Deku would immediately throw in a Detroit Smash. Immediately, as soon as the fight starts, he goes in for a straight Detroit Smash, and he's hella confused as he swears to God it hits Mirio, and before he can react, Mirio's in front of him, and Deku is uppercutted into the air, flung into the air. Now when it comes down to Mirio, I don't really have to amp him at all, as he's already freakishly overpowered towards the end of the story. So yeah, this Mirio, I don't really have to amp him or anything to really make him any different. So that uppercut and sends Deku flying, yeah, that's enough. With Deku being sent flying, he immediately cocks back his fist and goes in for another one, just for Mirio's clothes to slip off. And Deku would freeze, like confused. And then boom, he's blitzed mid-air and punched again and sent flying. From here, Mirio then will grab Deku as he immediately starts spinning him mid-air, throwing him. And then Mirio would just sink back down to the ground. Deku begins to look all around before he's punched over and over and over again. Before Deku immediately goes in and tries to hit Mirio, just for Mirio to for Mirio to not be touched. Deku's like, bro, what the fuck? He then is be thrown back by a punch that sends him flying. Deku looks towards Mirio as Mirio tells him that he's gonna have to go through some days of this. But today was just him getting a glimpse of all three of their quirks. In the next couple of days, he's gonna train against each of them individually. From here, Deku will go home. He goes home and walks inside, and Inko asks him how was his first day. Deku looks towards her and just says that it was hell. He got his shit rocked 3 times in a row. And he swears he tried. And then Dad walked in, and it just doesn't make anything better. Inko looks at him. She said, did he see your other form? He would shake his head no. He immediately detransformed when he heard his footsteps. And Inko's like, you know his footsteps? Deku's like, well, yeah, he's the loudest walking person in the school. There's a giant in the school, and he doesn't walk as loud as All Might does. Oh, okay. That explains why he never went on stealth operations, but she just looks forward. She tells Izuku that if he wants, she can just tell All Might and they can just talk about this. Deku would look forward before saying that he's not ready. He doesn't want to tell him. And what Deku wants to do is he wants All Might to see it in the sports festival. He wants All Might to realize it in the sports festival when he uses his second form for the first time. Inko would ask him if he was even granted permission for that. Deku looks forward and he says no. Inko then will tell him not to do it. Deku then will say, but how else would his father know? But see, he doesn't want to wait until he's a full-grown man for All Might to know. He's 16 or 14. I don't really remember, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I think at this point he's like 15 or some bullshit, but bro's like 15. He says that he wants All Might to see him in this moment. He wants All Might to literally, like, to dead ass see him. And that's all he wants. He doesn't know what he'll say when All Might confronts him. He doesn't know what he'll do. He looks towards Inko. He tells her that he's angry. Every time he looks at All Might, he just feels abandoned. That he feels sad, he feels excited, he feels happy all at the same time, because at the end of the day, he's in his presence of his father, someone that he wants to know so badly. It's genuinely like suffering, low-key, because he looks up to All Might in so many ways, but to know that All Might just left like that, that's where his anger comes from. That's where the pain comes from. Inko tells him that he left behind good reasons. Deku will say that he's aware. It doesn't really change how he feels. Inko would sigh, knowing that there's pretty much no convincing Deku, but she tells him that everything's gonna be okay. Plus, if All Might finds out, when he finds out, yeah, there's not gonna be much stopping that man from trying to be there for his super. Deku hears this and he smiles before he will return to school. Now, mind you, every single day so far, Deku has trained with the big three and he has gotten his shit caved in, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you. Every day for those 2 weeks, he lost. But towards the very last day, he defeated all three of them. So, you know what that means? He finna be broken. I ain't even finna lie to you. He finna be broken. So yeah, the fights will begin. Kaboom! Kaboom! Alright, so I don't remember if he got first place in the exams or not, so we just go bullshit and say he did, because completely forgot. Anyways, though. So yeah, Deku winds up getting first place. So, you know, he goes up there and he tells them on his speech, he looks forward before saying that today in the UA Sports Festival, there are several heroes around. Heroes that are here to watch you. Heroes that are here because they believe in you. Everyone has a chance of winning here today. Everyone has their own reasons and their own motives for winning here today. He says that everyone should win. After all, the greatest hero is here, and he's going to make sure everyone has a smile on their faces and that the entire building is safe. He tells them that they should be shooting for an internship, shooting to get someone's approval and for someone to think that they're cool. He tells them that he already knows people like Bakugo, Todoroki, hell, all of Class 1A are shooting for first place, but he knows Class 1B, Support Course, and even General Studies are shooting to put their own light out there. Some of them want this to be their opportunity to be moved into Class 1A or 1B in order to be heroes. And others, they just want their professional brands to be put out there. Now is the time to show that. Please do not, underneath any circumstances, hold back or try not to shine out. You want to shine. That is your goal and that's what you're looking forward to. As Deku says this, he turns and he looks towards them. His eyes begin to glow. But let me make it clear. You get in my way, I'm taking you down. I have my own goals and my own motives. And today I will be seen. As Deku says this, he walks off. As it is heard, many of the classmates would wonder what the fuck does that mean? But Deku winds up walking away. As he walks away, the test will begin. As soon as the race begins, Deku would immediately look forward and instantly dust around him begin to swell up. And as expected, Todoroki unleashes a burst of ice, which Deku would immediately fly over. As he flies over, he looks towards Todoroki, tells him that he's gonna have to get out of his way. Extending his head, he will send Todoroki flying. As Todoroki will be sent flying backwards, he gets upwards, irritated before shooting off a wave of ice that sends himself and launches himself forward. Deku will be seen flying through the air, immediately using his telekinesis. He would pick up robots, crushing them and throwing them around the place. As he flies toward at full speed, he winds up making it towards the finish line before anyone else does, getting him that 1 million headband. Now, as this happens, others would eventually make it through the finish line, and they will all look towards Deku, you know, all happy and shit, you know, congratulating him until, you know, it's revealed that it's a 1 million headband points. Deku's like, oh, okay, I'm fucking cooked, but it doesn't matter, as obviously President Mike and all the others would eventually, you know, get on over towards the cavalry battle. Y'all already know, bro, I'm skipping this. I'm skipping the cavalry battle. I do not like covering the cavalry battle. I see no points in covering it. So, yeah. Deku's next fight against Shinso, I'm not covering this one either. Because the whole point of this right now is for Deku to do this, okay? So yeah, Deku wins. We cut on over towards the locker room. As there, Todoroki will be seen talking to Deku about, Endeavor. And Deku then looks towards him and tells him point blank, "That's pretty crazy. But what you're gonna find out about me, it's gonna surprise you as well." He looks towards him and tells him to please not hold back against him. He knows he has two sides of his quirk, and Deku has two sides of his as well. A side that he was forced to hide for the most part. He's used it several times. In dire situations or emergency, he had to make smoke clouds. He had to hide his second form underneath stupid situations. He doesn't want to do that. So please don't do that to him. He knows he has fire. It's his quirk. Remember that. And he turns and walks away and goes into the ring. As he goes into the ring, Deku will look forward, and immediately Todoroki enters the ring, and their fight will begin, with Todoroki shooting off a burst of ice which will be blocked by a telekinetic wall by Deku. Deku then proceeds to extend that wall and send a wave of ice back towards Todoroki. As it's sent back towards Todoroki, Todoroki is able to freeze it, turn it back into his own ice, and throw it right back at Deku. Deku then lifts up his telekinesis and has it floating into the air, before the ice will break apart, forming into multiple ice shards that would all be shot towards Todoroki. Todoroki would easily dodge and evade most of them, or even using his own quirk to catch them and throw them back at Deku. Deku and Todoroki will both realize that this is kind of just a catch and throw battle. After all, Deku's quirk telekinesis allows him to just pick up anything and throw it with his mind, or move the direction any way he wants. So there's no really method around this. Deku looks forward towards him and tells him that they should just go all out. Let's not pull any punches, let's not waste our times. Deku aura begins to explode as a green and powerful aura comes off him as he begins to straight up smoke with power. The aura begins to explode as Deku proceeds to start picking up rubble from the ring that begins to shoot it towards Todoroki. As Todoroki tries to dodge, Deku then will use his telekinesis and snatch Todoroki forward. Deku then proceeds to send them flying towards him. Todoroki sees it, he immediately shoots off a bunch of ice blasts towards Deku, but these ice blasts will just be stopped in their tracks. With Todoroki looking forward, realizing this man is spamming that barrier. So he proceeds to put in more power with it, this time using his fire, which Deku was not expecting. The fire begins to zoom over Deku's barrier, and Todoroki begins to really push this, right? Before at the same time unleashing a blast of ice, and Deku's barrier will block the blast of ice as well, but with both of these attacks hitting him at once, Deku's barrier would actually high-key break a little bit, just for Deku to immediately catch the blast and immediately begins to activate his telekinesis, forcing the blast to pull in on itself. Todoroki sees it, he's overly confused as it looks like his attack is being telekinetically pulled towards itself instead of being pushed towards Deku. Deku then explains that his telekinesis can do a lot of things other than just move things, right? As then he lifts up his hand, as he then would say, "Reversal blue on some Gojo bullshit," he would say. As he says it out loud, he winds up sending the attack flying towards Todoroki with a blue hint around it that hits Todoroki and like he's sent flying. Todoroki winds up getting upwards before telling Deku that he told him that he had another form, that he's been hiding his quirk. So show me that power. As Deku tells him that, Deku looks towards the crowd. He begins to smile before telling Todoroki he doesn't know if he should do it. Todoroki then tells him that's bullshit. Deku then would explain that because this has to be a private moment. A moment not for you, but a moment for me. We cut on over towards Inko, as she could be seen at a door, knocking on it. As the door would open up, you would see a short old man, Gran Torino. As he would look forward, "Inko," he would say in confusion, "Come in, I'm watching the sports festival." Inko would walk inside, and as she walks inside, she takes her seat and looks forward. "We've only met like 3 times, Mr. Torino. But I need you to do me a huge favor." He looks towards her. "Can you please sponsor my son?" Why? He would say, as Inko tells him bluntly, "Izuku is the son of All Might. And currently, Izuku's holding back his power massively because he hasn't entered his other form, his second form." Gran Torino would look towards her as he would nod his head, as she explains that Izuku is... She doesn't know what he's planning. but he wants to reveal himself today. The issue is, I don't want him to reveal himself. She sits there and tells him that if he reveals himself, what if he's put in danger? Gran Torino will look towards her and tell her simply, Izuku's always going to be in danger, Inko. He's in the pro hero business. Whether he's an official one or not, he's in training to be one. UA is a target itself, Inko. And All Might, you know All Might's going to immediately freak out the moment he finds out about Izuku. So, what are we to do here? Inko will be seen shaking as she's crying, and she expresses that she just doesn't know what to do. Gran Torino will stand upwards, whereas from there he decides fine. Him and Inko are going to the sports festival. After all, they are both VIPs. So, Inko activates her telekinesis, and he activates his fucking jets, and they would immediately both fly to UA, just full speed. As they fly to UA, we would see Deku as he could be seen blocking a wave of ice from Todoroki before shooting it back, flying towards him. Deku would rush forward towards Todoroki and immediately goes in and punches Todoroki, and he's thrown back. As this happens, Todoroki swears to God he's seen Deku's arm grow like 3 times it before shrinking back down. And a lot of people actually noticed that, saying, did they see that right? But Deku realizes what he did and freaks out a little bit before shaking his hand and saying, it's just an illusion he could do with telekinesis. You know, he forcibly expanded his muscles in his body. As he says, the others are like, oh, okay, that makes sense then. That makes sense. And Deku's like, yeah, that's what I did. He then looks forward towards Todoroki. And as this happens, Todoroki would immediately go full strength, right? Unleash his biggest attack he can, right? That same little move he did against Deku in the original timeline, and sends that bitch towards Deku immediately. As it sends towards Deku, Deku then would just straight up smirk, smile, do all that good little shit, as he proceeds to throw Todoroki back in itself, and Todoroki would hit the ground, just for Deku to lift him up telekinetically, slam him onto the ground, and boom. Mind you, the attack was blocked by telekinesis. I don't know why I didn't mention that sooner, but yeah, Todoroki slammed him to the ground before Deku would immediately lift up his head and push him out of the ring, just ever so slightly. As this happens, Deku walks forward before telling him that now isn't the time. He knows exactly when he plans to reveal it, and it's the best moment. But as this happens, they end up hearing President Mike call over the intercom that Izuku has to report to the back right quickly. It'll just be a little minute to hold some things off real quick. It's okay, everyone. Things will be better, and they're not gonna miss out on anything. But Deku goes to the back confused and aggravated. As he makes it towards the back, he would question what's going on, but Inko looks towards him and tell him that they will set something up. Just don't do it. Deku looks towards her and he's just like, what is it that you guys are hiding from me? Inko then will say she isn't hiding anything and says, no mom, you have to be. Why is it that I have to continue to hide the fact that I'm currently sitting in my dad's classroom? Why? Huh? Why can't I just tell him? Why can't you just tell him? Why is it that I have to continue to hide? I don't even know how he feels. I don't even know his fucking birthday, and I swear that's public, but for all we know, it's fake. I don't know his favorite color. I don't know if I have anything from him other than like my second form. I don't know if I walk like him sometime. Well, I definitely don't walk like him. He's pretty loud, but I don't know if like the way I walk is similar, or if we write with the same hand, which is most likely right, but I don't know if we have anything in common. Man, I just want him to know. I just want him to know that I'm here, that I'm his, that I'm okay, that we're okay. Inko tells him that he didn't know. He'll say he knows. He knows that he didn't know. But it's really hard not to feel like I'm just a nobody. Just some kid who dad just so happens to be the most powerful man on the planet. who doesn't know he exists. You know how many kids are actually out there whose parents are rich and famous and they don't even know that that's their parents? I know. And it doesn't make it any better. It hurts. Every second it hurts me. Inko puts her head down and she begins to hold her head. At this point, Inko's getting really stressed. He doesn't know how to react, what to do, or how to really prevent this situation. She looks towards Gran Torino as he extends his hand to shake Izuku's hand, but Deku looks towards him, looks him up and down and says, "Who is this?" Inko then explains that this is Gran Torino. She expresses that he's the closest thing All Might has right now. And if anyone can talk to All Might, it's him. Deku looks towards him immediately and narrows his eyes and basically asks him, well, sort of demands him low-key, but can he please say something to him? And Gran Torino tells him that he will. And Deku's going to be present. After a little DNA test, of course. As he grabs one of Deku's hair, Inko's like, "Bro, I already showed you the DNA." And he's like, "I had to make sure for myself." And he walks away. And we see Deku as he balls up his fist in irritation before turning and walking away, going back into the ring. As he goes back towards the ring, Inko will tell him that everything is gonna be okay and he can just remain calm, okay? His next fight is against Bakugo, and Inko tells him not to use that form. Deku will sigh, listening to his mother, going back into the ring. As he goes back into the ring, he looks towards Bakugo, and immediately they begin to jump up and down before Deku would run forward towards Bakugo. As he runs forward towards Bakugo, he goes in for a punch which will be blocked by Bakugo. Then he goes in for another one, which Bakugo will block as well. Before Deku then will be thrown back by an explosion, with Bakugo rocking forward, "Yeah, die, bitch!" and goes in and hits Deku with a mean explosion to the stomach, and Deku's flung backwards. Bakugo then was telling him he may have defeated Todoroki, he may have even defeated that weird Nomu creature, but he's not beating him. He's gonna fucking show him that he's a goddamn strong ass. Die! And he rushes forward towards Deku and goes in for an explosion that hits Deku point blank range in the stomach, and he will be sent flying. As he's sent flying, Deku then proceeds to jump upwards into the air, and immediately Deku ends up going in for a kick on Bakugo, which will be blocked, and Bakugo just tells him that he's a weak fucking bastard as he headbutts Deku and throws him against the wall. For Bakugo then grabs him and starts punching Deku, right? As he punches Deku, Deku proceeds to start punching Bakugo back, right? And they're just going brawling, right? At this point, they are brawling, going blow for blow, brawl for brawl. Like, they're not stopping underneath any circumstances, right? Deku winds up getting thrown back, Bakugo winds up getting thrown back, as the two of them would just stare at each other, right? Deku staring at Bakugo, Bakugo staring at Deku, he would run in at him, and Bakugo would run in at Deku, then boom, the niggas would clash, make out, right? Clashing over and over and over, right? With Bakugo throwing explosions, Deku going in with telekinetically infused punches, right? They're just throwing each other around, right, at this point, right? So Deku lifts up his hand and multiple rubble begin to float upwards into the air, like about the same amount of power that Ochako did, right? Bakugo, remember this from the Ochako fight, it knows what Deku's about to do, as Deku calls all of it flying down on Bakugo. Bakugo just starts exploding upwards just for Deku to move his hands around, and all of the rubble begins to fly out around him, with multiple of it just surrounding him, right? And a big old orb surrounding Bakugo. As in, Deku immediately activates his quirk, and most of it begins to get shredded down. Bakugo lifts up his hands and start exploding in all directions, but a lot of them are actually able to hit Bakugo, right? Little cuts and little strikes, just nothing too brutal. Deku ain't trying to fuck him up, right? But he's doing simple little cuts, right? Nothing that could be lead to Bakugo's death or nothing, right? So like good little cuts, but not murderous type of cuts, right? So he's messing him up pretty badly, okay? So as these cuts hits Bakugo, Bakugo becomes very irritated at this point before exploding a wave outward and rushes forward towards Deku, immediately spinning and going in for an AP shot. Deku sees the AP shot coming in towards him, and he'll be hit by it, as his barrier will block a good majority of it, but AP shot breaks through it, and he does get a little bit of damage done to him. He looks upward towards Bakugo, who's already in front of Deku, and he kicks this man's dead in the face. Deku hits the ground as Bakugo grabs him by his shirt and immediately delivers an explosion infused punch, and Deku just hits the ground, right? He hits the ground, his head is hurting, and Bakugo steps on his chest before telling him he may have defeated Todoroki, but he's not. Deku sees this, grabs this man by his leg, and immediately throws Bakugo into the air, jumps up, grabs him by the face, and slams him onto the ground. Deku then starts punching him in the face over and over and over again. Who the fuck do you think you're disrespecting like that? As he begins to punch him over and over and over, he begins to grab Bakugo's head and slam him onto the ground. He didn't use his telekinesis to throw this man into the air before immediately activating his repulsive ability and blasts Bakugo away before using his telekinesis to snatch him forward, and then he headbutts him over and over and over before like he grabs this man and slams him onto the ground. He then proceeds to put this man into a figure 4 lock as he tells him to tap out. Bakugo's like, where the fuck did this come from? Deku then says, you put your feet on my chest like you were treating me like I was some type of bitch. As he says this, Bakugo's just, he's on the ground like, dude, it's not that deep. Deku then says, it is that deep. Know your fucking place. You're not better than me, I'm not better than you, but I will never be disrespected like that. And as he just has him on the ground, he's like, and he goes in and like he starts powering up an explosion. It's like in order to get out of the figure 4, but ain't finna do nothing. Deku holds him down for the longest time, and Bakugo realized that Deku's like getting physically stronger, like his muscles are bulking up, right? Inko and Gran Torino sees this, right? As Deku like gets more muscular, right? He ain't getting all the way there, right? But you can see streaks of yellow in his hair, right? He's in this partially transformed state, which mind you, he didn't know he could do until now. So he's just holding this man's there as long as he can. And Bakugo, right, he holds out his hand, right? And Deku just holds it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And this man's Bakugo begins to shake. He's shaking to keep his hand up in the air, and then he drops it. And boom. Deku would win via submission. Did I know that if they can do that or not? Nah, but hey, I'm pretty sure there was a, if your opponent is immobilized long enough, you win. So yeah. This is technically having him immobilized, so yeah. Deku would win. As this happens, Deku will be handed the first place medal, and All Might would personally shake his hand. As there, Deku will look All Might dead in the eyes, with a very narrow, serious, and just expressing that no one has ever seen Deku have. Deku begins to shake, right? As she slowly begins to lift his hand into the air, Inko sees this, she activates her telekinesis, and Deku's hand begins to get forcibly pushed down. He sees this, he feels this, as he begins to ball up his fists, his muscles begin to expand, and Inko then proceeds to like look towards Gran Torino, who would immediately blitz onto the surface before personally shaking Deku's other hand and telling him that he will personally intern him before they grabs Deku, and immediately he would jump off with the crowd screaming that's former pro hero Gran Torino, right? And Deku just looks towards Gran Torino, and this man begins to lift up his hand to prepare his telekinesis. Inko then tells him to stop, and Deku just looks towards him before he lets off a scream of pure anger before slamming his head onto the ground over and over and over, as Inko and Gran Torino will both grab Deku, right? Telling him that it's gonna be okay, calm down. Deku's like, no, it's not, right? Like he's losing it, like he's genuinely losing his shit. So yeah. He just walks off, right? After losing his cool, right? Flashing out and shit, bro walks off because there's nothing else he can do. He leaves, right? He leaves. And once he leaves, we see Mirio, who could be seen just wondering if he's okay. As he goes to tell him, like, hey, everything's gonna be okay, Deku just starts crying, right? He breaks down crying. He would cry and cry and cry and cry. And Mirio would just hold Deku, right? You know, at this point, it would be like a little bit of you know, like, Mirio's like currently, Deku's been homeschooled most of his life, right? So he hasn't had any real figures that are just actually there, right? So the big 3 are like genuinely the closest thing Deku has to friends, right? He's cool with everyone in class one day, but Deku just not, he hasn't really spent that much time with him, right? Because yeah, they've had training exercises together, but in reality, not really much, right? So Deku is legit more closer to the big 3 as he's around them way more. He's been training with them every single day since the USJ, right? So as he's crying there, right, All Might would walk past him. He would stop, turn, as he would ask him, are they okay? And Deku's crying, just says, get the fuck away from me! As he says it, All Might's like, oh shit, okay, my bad. And he just goes and he just walks off, right? He just walks away, right? He walks away and he keeps looking backwards, wondering if the kid's okay, but the kid wanted his space, and All Might, as a teacher, you know, he's gonna give the kid his space. And Deku sees All Might walking away, and he just starts crying even freaking harder, right? Mirio tells him that it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And Deku he tells him that he doesn't even know if it's gonna be okay. He's not sure. He's really not sure. Mirio tells him that he knows it's gonna be okay. Okay? And it's very important that Deku understands that it's going to be okay. Deku would tell him that he doesn't know. Right? Just crying and crying and crying. Mirio would sigh. As from there, him and Deku would just go out, right? Hanging out. He would get Deku anything, basically whatever he can to keep the kid happy, right? Because, you know, the kid is bawling his fucking eyes out, right? He's trying to make sure Deku stays as happy as possible. So he keeps him as happy as he needs him, right? And just about as happy as he needs him to be, he makes sure that he stays that happy, okay? And since Deku winds up getting, you know, staying as happy as he possibly can, everything is okay. Not really, but he winds up making it on over, right? They finally come on over, which from there, it's time to discuss who's interning with who. And of course, Deku's interning with Gran Torino, right? So Deku sees this, he's a little aggravated, right? Because somehow all of his other internships were declined. And he knows that it has something to do with Gran Torino and Inko, as they're basically forcing Deku to intern with him. Deku would be hella irritated, right? And the first thing that happens is he goes towards Gran Torino's home and he sits down. And Gran Torino will tell him about everything, right? Deku just looks forward. Why? Why couldn't I intern anyone else? Why do I have to intern with Gran Torino? It was All Might's tea. I don't know. Unless I'm gonna get to have a moment with my father, I don't care. Inko would remain silent. At this point, she's realizing that ever since coming to UA and being around All Might as often as he is, Izuku's not really angered. It's hurting him. She can see it in her son's eyes that it hurts him. Just being there and not being able to just communicate with his father. Inko herself she starts crying, like on the spot, processing it all. She doesn't know what to do. She's afraid of Izuku telling All Might and then immediately all of UA's put in danger. But she's also afraid of the pain that it's causing her son. She looks towards Gran Torino and tells him that goddamn it, get All Might on the fucking phone. As she says that, Gran Torino will say that it isn't smart. Night Eye's vision. She didn't look towards him before saying she doesn't fucking care. Get him on the phone. He looks forward and tells her that fine, get him on the phone. He really hopes Inko knows what she's doing. She looks towards him and she's crying and she just straight up admits that she doesn't. And she's really hoping this goes right. Gran Torino gets in contact with All Might. And All Might winds up showing up as Gran Torino just makes up some bullshit excuse. And quickly, Gran Torino and Inko would leave the room, allowing All Might and Izuku to have that moment. As Izuku would just be seen sitting down as he's just watching a few All Might clips, right? All Might would use the spare key that he has and enter into the building. As he does so, he would look around and there'd just be Izuku there. He'd ask where's Gran Torino. Deku didn't say that. Gran Torino didn't call you for himself. He called you for me. All Might looks towards him and he's like, okay, young Midoriya, what is it that you need? All Might would go as he would take a seat in the chair across from Deku. Deku looks towards him. Why did you leave my mom? All Might hears this and he just remains silent. Young Midoriya, this is, why did you leave? Please just answer the question. All Might looks at him. Your mother's life was in danger with me around. Why didn't you never check on her? her connection to me put her in danger. Any connection, any type of, you really don't understand, do you? He looks towards him. Would you have left if you known I existed? All Might's face would, he looks forward confused. What? Would you have left if you knew that I existed? Would you have left me if you knew that she was pregnant with me at the time? Would you have left in? Would you have left? Wait, what are you trying to say? What do you mean? What am I trying to say? Piece it together. It isn't anything difficult to understand. I am your son. And you left us. I mean, sure, mom was rich. She was a pro hero. It's just... You know what? See, you're not going to understand me looking like this. Deku looks forward as smoke begins to steam off of his body. He would enter into his second form. You see the resemblance now? You see the resemblance now? So why? Why did you leave? I seen your mother. I seen her die with my own 2 eyes. Not I. My former sidekick, the current pro hero, his future vision. He's seen her die. I didn't know she was pregnant with you at the time. Deku looks towards him. Do you know how bad it hurts to be sitting here across from you? My entire damn life, I wanted a father. And to find out when you're 13, that the strongest man on the planet is him, and your mom's word is he left to protect us, the strongest man on the planet. We couldn't have been in protective custody. Couldn't have snuck in every once in a while. You couldn't have used your other form. All for One knows what the other form looks like. So who's All for One? Remain silent. As All Might sits there and he tells Izuku the story, with both of them in the moment losing it, both crying, having emotional breakdowns. I mean, All Might just now finding out this kid is his son. Izuku finally giving to have that moment with All Might and admitting that he's his father. Both of them would just be breaking down the entire time. Inko would come out of the room, and Deku would cry as he hugs his mother, and Inko would cry. All Might, he tries to join in, and Inko would just tell him to give him a second, which he would do. Eventually it would lead on to it. All Might would finally get that moment of fresh air as Izuku would cry as he hugs his father. Tears pouring down his eyes, and, well, Gran Torino would do nothing more than just simply stand there. He would be smiling. He doesn't know what else to do at this point. He's happy. The kid finally got that closure. Then Deku would just have his moment, you know? That entire time he would just chill, have moments with All Might, you know, and basically he would enter his second form the entire time, whereas from there they would learn more about one another. Just spend that whole day. But for just like that, next couple of days they're back to training. Deku's gonna be the same city he was in the original timeline. Training with Gran Torino probably wouldn't really get him a one for all, but it would teach him a little bit on how to use the air within his second form. After all, that's part of Gran Torino's quirk with his jets. He can figure out a way to make Deku use his tactile telekinesis via the air much better. So, we cut on over towards Deku arriving where Ida would be fighting against Stain in the original timeline. So, Stain, like normal, will be preparing to stab Ida. The pro hero of, what the fuck this nigga name is? Native. Yeah, he'll be preparing to stab Native. So, Deku, he rushes in. And as he rushes in, he immediately zips forward and immediately grabs Native. As it happens, Deku would immediately reveal his second form before saying, honestly, you villains make me ashamed. But young Ida, have no fear, cause I am here. As he says this, Ida looks forward confused. Yo, who are you? He would say, Deku de-transforms, bro, it's me. What? Ida would say, just for Deku to re-transform, and immediately he runs up the wall, like on the side of the alleyway, runs up the wall, jumps off it, and immediately rockets and makes Stain smooth across the face, and this man will be flung backwards. As then Deku proceeds to grab Stain, make him weigh 0 gravity. Mind you, tactile telekinesis, you can do damn nearly anything as long as you're making contact with it, right? And he picks him up and slams him onto the ground before doing it over and over and over again. Deku looks at his head and realizes he's been much stronger ever since he like revealed everything to All Might, right? Like he feels like he way stronger, right? And now she explains something hella crazy, right? Something that I got from like the Lancelot thing within the Four Days of Apocalypse manga. I'm not gonna spoil it, but what matters is the reason behind Deku's increased strength is because unknowingly, ever since the day he found out that All Might was his dad, he has been telekinetically weighing himself down due to his own like feelings, right? His own sadness, irritation. Like he's been telekinetically weighing himself down with pressure, right? Because like, you know, he wants to be the best. He wants to be that hero for his father to see. Shit, this man's been weighing his own self down. But yeah, he looks forward, right? And Deku proceeds to send Stain flying with a massive attack, right? A powerful Carolina smash. Ida's just seeing all this, and Deku just blazes forward. Mika, punches Stain over and over and over again before spinning and kicking Stain, and Stain's on the ground. Stain looks forward before blitzing towards Deku, goes in to cut him, but Deku would catch the blade and instantly breaks it, right? And as it happens, Stain bites this man, just straight up bites him, okay? And Deku paralyzed, right? But Deku can still use his quirk, so this man shrinks down, right? Mind you, he's technically not moving, so he shrinks down and just starts telekinetically moving Stain with his mind, slamming him from wall to wall to wall, and just holding him in the air. Deku then said, like Deku, since they can still talk for some fucking reason while being paralyzed, Deku then will tell him that he might not be able to move, but Stain can't move either. And as he says this, the two of them will just be seen staring at each other until Deku can move again. And which Deku gets the freedom to move, he flies upwards and immediately knocks Stain smoothed out. Deku hits the ground, and from here, well, we time skip on over towards the little battles, but since this timeline, Deku and Bakugo's beef isn't really that deep, right? Bakugo just didn't really like Deku because he showed up and was all of a sudden on their level. What matters today is Deku is going to do the reveal, right? Because Ida's the first person to see it point blank, like with no type of smoke cloud, nothing being used to hide it. He's the first person to see Deku's other form. Deku would walk into the class. Before there, he would look forward. I have something very important to tell everyone, okay? And this news cannot leave Class 1A. Because I have to train with you guys more than anyone, okay? He looks forward as smoke begins to come off his body. He would enter his second form, explaining who he is. My name is Izuku Midoriya. I'm son of pro hero Inko Midoriya. And as you know, my mother is a powerful telekinetic who once had relationships with All Might in the past, but of course they've broken things off. She said it several times in interviews, right? It wasn't really a secret to the public. She looks forward dead seriously. I am All Might's son. As this news hits the class, everyone there would be shocked. What? What the fuck? They all would say. Wait. How long have you known? You lucky fucking bastard. Mineta would say, wait, does anyone else know? Deku explains that a couple of the teachers know and staff, as well as the big three. But other than that, well, and Gran Torino, All Might's master, and of course his mother, no one else knows. The class will remain silent. If y'all hear that train in the background, which I'm really hoping y'all don't, I apologize because my house is like somewhat close to the tracks. Like it's not like necessarily directly by the tracks, but for some reason in the city I live in, bro, them bitches is every fucking where. It's really irritating. I can't go anywhere without a fucking train track being there, right? Like anytime, bro, they're every freaking where. But yeah, back to what I was saying though. They take it all in as Deku tells him that All Might himself didn't know until a few days ago. And they're like, bro, that's freaking crazy, man. Like this is some crazy shit to hear, right? Everyone would basically go up to Deku and tell him it's okay, and they basically congratulate him on being the son of the most powerful and rich man on the planet, right? They tell bro that he's awesome, you know, blah 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 blah. You know, they just make him feel better. So yeah, time's good. Boom, bop, bang. time skipping days. So yeah, we time skip on over towards the force training camp arc, and y'all already know how I'm about to do this, bro. I don't really know how Deku would like actually train in a force training camp arc. So let's just say he mostly focuses on his tactile, right? Trying to just spam his growth over how much he can control at a time, realizing that he basically trains on picking up larger items with tactile telekinesis, and even begins to try doing it with more items at a time, right? Realizing that if he's making contact with one item and that item is making contact with other things, he can use his tactile telekinesis on it. So let's say that he's fighting against someone and they're like some way or form making contact with another person at the same time. He has tactile telekinesis over that second person as well. Realizing that it kind of spreads, like, you know, it spreads over control wise. So yeah. It's low-key a little bit of a gift, okay? Yeah, it's peak, it's overpowered. So yeah, kaboom. Time skip. Okay, yeah, I'm getting a little too excited right now. I'm just kabooming and yeah and shit. But yeah, I was about to say it again. Yeah, time skip. They make it on over towards he's gonna go give Koda some food, right? Muscular is still gonna be there, and as he's there, he basically goes on a rant about how he kills Koda's parents, right? As he says this, Deku thinks about like what Koda must have gone through, right? He knows what it's like going through without a dad, but like with both of his parents dying in front of him. Yeah, nah, Deku not going for this shit. He doesn't even enter his second form. He remains in his base form and just lifts Muscular up telekinetically and pulls him towards him and looks him in his eye. Okay, you killed the kid's parents, right? Muscular begins to smile as he says, yeah, he did. Bet. And Deku proceeds to forcibly explode Muscular's other eye. Muscular hits the ground and starts screeching in pain, right? As then he jits upwards, right? And just starts swinging in random directions. And Deku activates his quirk and forcibly breaks Muscular's arms, right? He begins to break both of this man's arms. Muscular hits the ground. Deku walks towards him before breaking his legs as well. Muscular just drops on the ground. Deku then says, killing a kid's parents, that's hella wrong. Deku then steps on his back and tells him that he's done, and he breaks his spine, leaving this man currently no legs, no arms, and a broken spine. This man's paralyzed for life. Muscular is just on the ground. Deku tells him that a hero doesn't kill, but someone like you deserve nothing more but some most severe punishments. So this man is not only paralyzed, but Deku also fully blinded him. Yeah, Deku's a fucked up individual for this, but I don't fucking care. Muscular is a piece of shit. I hate Muscular. I hate Muscular more than I hate Ida and Bakugo. And trust me, I really don't like Ida or Bakugo. But I don't like Muscular more. So, yeah. Anyways, Muscular, yeah, man sits to ground. He just sitting there, you know, all fucked up and shit. And Deku just looking at him like, yeah, this is what the fuck you get. And he walked off. He just walked off, bro. Muscular all messed up. Deku just smiling because, you know, he did the right little thing. You know, he saved Koda. He picks Koda up and boom, they begin to fly around. Deku didn't like tell Aizawa and the others that the camp is underneath attack. And yeah, with the camp being underneath attack, Aizawa and all the others prepared, you know, the little pro hero shit bullshit. You know, yeah, boom. They go off, right? They go off in order to go save all the students. So I honestly don't really know what to do here, right? So I can either still make it to where Bakugo gets kidnapped, or hear me out. Deku himself gets kidnapped, right? But I don't want to do that, right? Because then it'll lead a little bit more into like that vision, right? And I want that vision to be broken, okay? So Bakugo gets kidnapped, right? And with Bakugo getting kidnapped, kaboom, everything will play out like canon from here, right? Deku, except, well, no one really gets hurt because Deku slimes out basically every villain there. Deku and Tomioka, bro, they're sliming them people out left and right. And Deku eventually has to slime like Tokiyami out, right? And knock him unconscious, okay? So yeah, boom. Bakugo still gets kidnapped, and we time skip on over towards the All Might versus All for One fight. And really, this plays out mostly like canon until Deku like basically screams at the top of his lungs, "Dad," right? As he screams this, he screams underneath no circumstances is he to lose here today, and allow that premonition to come true. As that is heard, All Might hears this shit, and Mans immediately locks in. Instantly going full freaking power, he goes smooth in and hits him all for one with the most ruthless attack. Like way, like I would say even stronger than what he did in the original timeline, right? Why? Because I want him to die, right? So let's just say it's even stronger, right? Because All Man's going through hella adrenaline, right? And honestly, he didn't even pass One for All over yet. So Really, this is a perfect chance to knock this man's out. He takes All For One out immediately with that hit, right? And All Might from here will basically go on, right? You know, he remains a pro hero after all. He didn't give One For All away yet, and in the end, overall arc would take place. But All Might with One For All is taking overhaul out like immediately. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro. The next video I'm making, okay, since this is the end of the video, mind you, is going to be a Bone Quirk Deku. And I'll be real with y'all, I don't know quite yet. So here's y'all, okay? I'm talking to y'all right now. Do y'all want Bone Quirk Deku to be a hero, or do y'all want him to be a member of the Shihaya Zakai? Because I'm leaning a little bit more to the Shihaya Zakai, which I don't think I've ever done a story like that. So, hey, the idea's up to y'all. Tell me down below what you guys think, and let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, or if you guys enjoy more emotional style videos like this. I wanted this video to be emotional, okay? I wanted y'all to feel Deku's pain on a deeper level than just him being an evil villain. I want y'all to feel, you know, the regret from All Might, the pain that is putting Deku and Inko through. Like, I want y'all to feel all of that, okay? So yeah, let me know how y'all felt. I'm doing more emotional stories like this, so yeah, just let me know, okay? That being said, I'm out for real this time. Thank y'all.